Hello, everybody, and welcome to another War of the Spark draft here on the channel. If you are watching this on YouTube, welcome. Before I dive into the draft, I do want to say, if you enjoy this video, remember to hit that thumbs up button. It really does help me out a ton, and I truly appreciate each and everyone who supports the channel and supports the growth of the channel in this way. Also, if you want to join the community, join the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. It'll give you an update whenever I post new content, if that's something you want, and it is another great way to support the growth and success of the channel. Finally, if you do have any questions or comments, be sure to leave those in the comment section down below. I love interacting with you guys in the community. It's one of my favorite parts about having a YouTube channel, probably my absolute favorite part, and I really appreciate each and everyone who comments because I do enjoy talking with all of you folks. But without further ado, let's dive into the draft. Okie doke. Starting with the rare. Atomic Distinguished Advocate might look great, but the fact is he's only like fine, because in limited, having any double color on turn 2 is never like a sure thing. Sometimes you'll just draw 3 lands of your other color and only 1 land of your main color, maybe not even have a land of your main color. So if you're playing Atomic, you kind of want to have like 10 planes in your deck to consistently cast him on turn 2, which is a pretty strong card, but not like anything unbelievable or anything. It is still only a 2/3 flyer at the end of the day. Vraska, however, is one of the best uncommons. I was having a discussion with some people the other day trying to think of the best uncommons, and we had Kaya as number 1, and then Vraska was like either number 2 or 3. Reclamation Sage was somewhere up there as well. But Vraska is incredible. It's very flexible, so it can go into a variety of decks. Unlike Tomic, which only goes in one deck, Vraska can go in a green deck or a black deck, and it's just very powerful. You make 2 1/1 Death Touchers, which will almost always trade for real cards, and they have to be blocked eventually because otherwise they will grow out of control. The Vraska itself kind of needs to be killed. Very, very powerful card, and definitely the pick out of this pack. It's better than almost every uncommon. I do want to mention a couple other cards, though. I think 10th Legionnaire is a pretty strong card in Boros, but you don't want to take it early because it is not necessary. You'll get these a little bit later if Boros is open, but you don't really. Boros isn't the type of deck that's so strong you want to try and force it early. Firemind's Vessel is a solid enough card in like a multicolor deck, but it isn't one of the best payoffs. The best ones are in green because they are just normal cards that also fix your mana. New Horizons kind of isn't a normal card because it does just primarily fix your mana, but it also like ramps you and puts a counter on something, which is pretty relevant. Firemind's Vessel, you really have to have strong payoffs for splashing or ramping if you're going to play this, because it does put you down a card to put this, like, this just doesn't like affect the board the same way that the 4 mana 2/4 does or something like that. Other cards I want to talk about, I do want to talk about 3 of the commons. Starting off with a Bulwark Giant. This isn't like the best common in the pack, but the card does solid work, especially out of the sideboard against aggressive decks, because aggressive decks pretty much can't beat this card if it comes into play. So if you see one late in the draft, pick one up. It's a good sideboard card. Trusted Pegasus is really good. I think it's the 2nd best white common after Law Rune and Enforcer, and it's just very effective at attacking past the ground and helping your other creatures along the way. I don't think it's insane or anything. I think I would potentially take Tomic over it. Pack one, pick one, just though it is kind of close. But Trusted Pegasus does die to pretty much every removal spell, so it's not like unbelievable or anything, but it is like it is a 3-drop that's pretty squishy, if that makes sense, but it is still a great card. And then Spark Harvest is a very, very strong removal spell. I think the 2nd best black common after Ob Nixilis' Cruelty, and is overall a card that I'm pretty much happy to play any number of, though it does have diminishing returns because you don't want to sacrifice too many creatures. But so I think in this pack I would go Vraska, and then I would probably go Spark Harvest, and then after that it's very close between Tomic and Trusted Pegasus. I would probably take the Tomic just to try it out, because that's one of the things with rares is you want to try them out to see how good they actually are. But 2 mana 2/3 flying could be pretty effective in the right deck. But here it's just a pretty easy Vraska. Okie doke. Now in this pack, the rare is missing, so we don't really get a signal as to what is open. That's just one of those things where if the uncommons are missing or the commons are missing and there's a good uncommon, you can kind of sometimes figure out what the person passing to you is playing. But in this situation, the rare is missing. It could be literally anything. There's a ton of strong rares in this pack, in this format. The best card in this pack is Rowl's Outburst. This card is very strong. It is always a 2-for-1 because the 3 damage can pretty much kill anything, and then you're drawing a card guaranteed. It also, sometimes having cards in your graveyard can be relevant, so that's another positive. Rowl's Outburst is very, very good. If I end up playing a multicolored green deck, Rowl's Outburst could be very good. Dovin Hand of Control is much better than I thought it was initially. It actually does lock down something for a very, very long time, and usually it helps you stall out the game so you can draw your more powerful cards. So I am pretty a decent fan of Dovin, though I don't think I want to take it here. after a Vraska, because I think Vraska is also very good, and I don't think Dovin's like insane or anything. I think it's significantly worse than Rouse Outburst. Looking at the commons, there are 3 commons once again that I want to talk about. Rising Populace, I think this card's a little bit underrated. The fact that it grows when they kill your Planeswalkers is quite nice, because sometimes you'll have a Planeswalker on low loyalty, or that's gotten 1 activation in that they just want to kill, and then Rising Populace grows, and that starts the proliferate train, and that's just a very nice effect. I guess there's going to be 4 commons I want to talk. Maybe I'll just talk about 5 commons. I don't know. Tammy's Epiphany is another very solid blue common. It's actually one of the best commons to splash if you are playing a ramp deck that's like potentially splashing, because the ramp decks can run out of things to spend their mana on, but Tammy's Epiphany just finds you like typically 2 spells, and then like can potentially scry you into even more. So Tammy's Epiphany is quite nice in that type of role as well, and it is just a good card in blue decks as well. Toll of the Invasion is very underrated, I think. Toll of the Invasion is incredible in this format, compared to how it would be in normal formats. There's a lot of good cards in the format, and it's slow enough that Toll of the Invasion will be able to take some of those good cards. Like if your opponent has a Liliana in your deck, Toll of the Invasion gives you a chance, whereas a lot of decks would normally not be able to interact with that type of Liliana. Finally, Burning Prophet. Burning Prophet is a very strong card. I haven't actually played it in any of my videos, I realize, but this card is great. I don't want you to think that just because I haven't played with it, it's not great. This card is very good. There's a lot of non-creature spells running around, and the Scry is so good for finding more action, and finding more action, finding more spells. And then Thundering Ceratok is like surprisingly playable. I played it in my F&M draft yesterday, and it did decent work, so I just wanted to point that out. It's got some synergies with 4 Power Matters cards, and is overall just a solid enough card. Here, though, we are going to be and Bond of Flourishing, while it can find my Vraska, I just don't think it's good enough to warrant taking here. So here we are going to be taking the Rouse Outburst. A little bit of a hedge here in case something else is open. I think I'm taking it over a... I don't think that the black and green cards necessarily go as well with Burning Prophet. So I think I would go Rouse Outburst, then Toll of the Invasion, then Tammy's Epiphany, and then Burning Prophet in this pack is my pick order, I think. And then maybe Dovin. Or maybe I take Dovin over the Burning Prophet. It's close on that one. But here, this leaves me open to like a potential splash deck. It just gives me, like, if I end up blue-red, I think this card is high enough upside. It's also very splashable if I end up, like, black-blue or something like that. Okay, this pack, once again, has a lot of good cards. In the uncommon slot, Storm of the Citadel is not particularly playable, I don't think. A lot of the time, the creatures are trading off. There's a ton of removal, so the board ends up relatively clear, and Storm of the Citadel just doesn't do the work you want it to do, and the destroying artifacts or enchantment is not great. Ashiok is a card that is good in control matchups, but not great if you're just a random deck. So if you do put Ashiok in your deck, make sure that you have like the potential to just go to decking and be fine with that. Like you have answers to bombs that your opponents might play and things of that nature, because you don't want to just put Ashiok into a random deck, but it can be very powerful. Neoform isn't playable in limited. It just doesn't do what you want. Law Rune Enforcer, as I said earlier, I think is the best white common. If you have like a Law Rune Enforcer in play, it just makes it so hard for your opponent to do anything. It can pressure Planeswalkers pretty effectively because you can end of turn tap a creature, then on your turn tap a creature, and to get in a good attack against the Planeswalker to kill it. Law Rune Enforcer works well in multiples. It's just a very strong card because in the late game you're going to have enough mana to hold this up, so it basically locks down their biggest threat, and it's a removable, very flexible card that only costs 1 mana. And it is one of the best commons. Next, we have the best green common, Bloomhulk. Bloomhulk is a very good card. 4 mana, 4/4. When it enters the battlefield, proliferate. This card is just very effective. It works nicely with the Vraska that we already have, because not only does it proliferate onto Vraska, it proliferates onto the assassin tokens if they have a counter on them already. And then there's a Vivian's Grizzly in this pack, which I do want to mention. I think there's some debate over what the best green 3-drop is, because there's Vivian's Grizzly, there is Arlen's Wolf, and then there is the Crawl's Stinger. I think that of the 3, Vivian's Grizzly and Arlen's Wolf are definitely a step above Crawl's Stinger, and it's actually very close and a little bit deck dependent on whether you'd rather have an Arlen's Wolf or Vivian's Grizzly, because Arlen's Wolf does attack through very well. Hopefully we open one so you can see the exact card I'm talking about, but it's a 3 mana 3/2 that can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less, and that card is very effective in this format because a lot of the creatures are just low power, and even some of the 4-drops only have 3 toughness, like the Sky Giant, the 4 mana 4/3 giant, so it just trades very effectively, and if it has counters on it, it works very well. But Vivian's Grizzly is definitely a great card for late game decks. That being said, we will definitely take Bloomhulk over it, or Law Rune Enforcer in this pack. I think we are going to take Bloomhulk here, because Bloomhulk works so well with the Vraska, and we kind of want to try being base green, because that gives us a chance to splash our Rouse Outburst as well. And I think going into another color, even though we could just totally pair it with a Vraska, I think taking the Bloomhulk here is going to be quite nice. Bloomhulk is a very powerful card. Okay, In this pack, Bolt Bend is actually a card that got played against me for the first time yesterday, and it was very brutal in the matchup that I was playing because my removal spells were Wanderer Strikes, and so I kind of like at a certain point I knew my opponent had it. Like, he'd held up red mana early in the game, but he only had one card in hand, so I kind of had to go for it, or I was just going to lose to his Planeswalker that I was taking up, and Bolt Bend just really puts your opponent in a tough spot in that type of situation. That being said, I don't want to get too results-oriented. I still think the card is very medium if you don't have enough 4-powered creatures. If you do have, like, 4 or 5 4-powered creatures, so you can hold this up for 1 mana, it actually can be quite effective, because then it's a 1 mana redirect effect that gets you a 2-for-1, which is quite nice. Yeah, because it counters their removal spell and kills their creature. So Bolt Bend can be a very good card in the right deck if you have a couple Bloom Hulks and Turret Ogres. Arlen's Wolf and Turret Ogre. Those were the 2 cards I was talking about last time. So yeah, and also like Ward Scale Crocodile. So like things like that. Like Arlen's Wolf can't be blocked by Power 2 or less, but if they have a Turret Ogre, they don't really want to block your 3/2. If they have a Crocodile, similar boat. So, but if they have a Goblin Assailant, then they can't block it either. So Arlen's Wolf is quite nice. Nissa's Triumph is a card that I don't think is great, because if you already have double green, you typically don't need extra lands as much, and in the late game, drawing 2 lands doesn't really do a ton, so I'm not a huge fan of Nissa's Triumph. In this pack, I think the pick is a pretty clear Arlen's Wolf. We are pretty, like, more likely to play green than these other colors, and even though there's like a Bolt Bend, which is relatively high upside, and a Turret Ogre, which is decent, I think Arlen's Wolf is just like, it's in our main color, which is green right now, even though we could still technically move off of green, and it's just a very solid card that I'm pretty happy to play. Okie doke. In this pack, there is a Huatli, a card that I'm not a super big fan of, though I do need to be more aware of the times when it could be good, because I did have a deck the other day that it could have been decent in, and I just didn't even think about it. If you have a couple Charity Extractors, and it seems like you would get a lot of benefit from the dealing toughness part, it's a fine card to take, but I don't overall think it's going to be playable in many decks. Enforcer Griffin is a card I'm very high on compared to other commons. I think it might actually be one of the top white commons, just because, like, top 5, like maybe 4 after Wanderer Strike, because just it's such a big flyer, and flyers are such an important part of this metagame that you need to have Enforcer Griffin type cards. Looking at the commons, I think Stealth Mission is fine as a 1-of, because you can actually kill a Planeswalker with it that you might normally not be able to kill, or just finish off your opponent, and it starts proliferating going. Vraska's Finisher is a card I'm very happy to play, because you can almost always it just makes you able to attack with impunity, because your creature is going to trade off no matter what, essentially. It's kind of like Blade Brand in that way, and it can really pressure Planeswalkers, which is nice, but there's also just another Arlen's Wolf, and I think we're going to take that, because it does keep us into kind of just a base green deck, and then we can maybe play green-blue, green-red. There are a lot of red cards in this pack, even though they aren't particularly good ones. Keep in mind that white, we are getting a tiny bit of a signal that white might be open because of that Law Rune Enforcer and now this Enforcer Griffin, but overall just going to stick to green. Okie doke. In this pack, Teo I think is unplayable. The 0/3 walls just don't do enough to justify playing Teo. Battlefield Promotion is a card that I'm relatively happy to play. A lot of the time you will be able to use this as an effective combat trick, and it gets the Proliferate engine going. That being said, it's not a card I'm like stoked to take, though it does work kind of nicely with Arlen's Wolf, because they have to block with their bigger guy, and then you eat the bigger guy with Battlefield Promotion. Snare Spinner is just a very solid 2-drop. It protects your Planeswalkers, and it is just like good against the flyers, and flyers are a very big part of this meta. So and then there's Turret Ogre, which is okay as well. I could totally see this being a green-red deck that splashes blue. I also just kind of want to get a 2-drop here so that I can make sure I can get on the board early in my green deck. There's not like an insane number of good 2-drops, and Snare Spinner is a fine one. And I think Snare Spinner versus like Battlefield Promotion would be close. Is kind of close, but because I'm not sure if I'm playing white yet, and I could just be a green anything deck at this point because I don't have any other colors, I think I'm just going to take the Snare Spinner and see what happens. Okie doke. Now there's a New Horizons. This card actually really opens me up to play almost anything that I want to play. New Horizons is going to be very good. It works with Bloom Hulk. It ramps me. It fixes mana if I want to splash a Rouse Outburst. There's also Bond of Passion, which is good if you are an aggressive deck, because this card can really just end the game if you cast it, if you're aggressive enough. But overall, not a card I want to take here because I'm not even that color. Tidebearer Giant is a card that is actually good in this format. Like, in some formats, this card wouldn't be good, but in this format, it actually is very effective. The 4/5 is just one of the biggest stat lines in the format, and then drawing a card gives you just that extra value turning through your deck. Even though at 6 mana, drawing a card isn't as valuable because lands are dead draws, I do always like to point this out. It's something that I learned, I think, from Marshall on Limited Resources, is that when you, or maybe LSV, but when you pay 6 mana and draw a card. The land is not really a card that you care about, so it's only like drawing 2/3 of a card. Whereas if you're drawing a card at 3 mana, lands are relevant draws because you still need to be hitting your land drops at that point. So draw a card attached to a cheaper creature is more valuable. But here we are just going to take New Horizons, stick to our main color, stick to our guns, as they say, and it also works nicely with Bloom Hulk. Okie doke. In this pack, I don't think we need another 3-drop. We already have 2 Arlen's Wolf and a New Horizons. Even though this does work with Proliferate, we only have 1 Proliferate card right now, and we do want to start getting some variation in our requirements. We could take a Gateway Plaza, though the green deck doesn't really need that to splash usually because of New Horizons and the 4-drop green creature. So I'm not like a huge fan of taking Gateway Plaza. So I think I'm just going to take Thundering Ceratok. It's a relatively big creature, and it'll work nicely as a top-end card for this deck, just to keep the pressure on. And Forced Landing's a nice sideboard card. Maybe I do want to just take a Forced Landing. Yeah, actually, I can get behind that. Forced Landing is a very good sideboard card. And I have a lot of main deck cards already. I could struggle with lives. Do I have a Snare Spinner already? This is actually kind of tricky. In some situations, Iron Bully would be correct, but I already have 3 3-drops. You don't want to overload on any one part of your mana curve, really, except the 2-drop slot, which is fine to do. So Thundering Ceratok or Forced Landing would be better here. And, this is tricky. I think I'm going to take... Jeez. Let's just take the Forced Landing. I think it's going to be very valuable as a sideboard card to have access to. And here we can take a Bulwark Giant. If I do end up being a deck that is a heavy splash, I can still just bring this in out of the sideboard. I'm not a fan of Prismite. It never really does anything relevant for splashing. Heartfire is okay, but I think Bulwark Giant is going to be higher upside here. And now a Total Invasion comes back. Total Invasion is definitely the best card in this pack, and we could totally just be a black-green deck. Black-green decks also like to splash a lot, so I think I like Total Invasion here over something like Martyr for the Cause. I'm actually pretty down on Martyr for the Cause because a lot of the time it trades off before it becomes relevant whether or not you can proliferate. So it's also like not very good at trading off once you proliferate. It does become relevant. So I like Total for the Invasion here. And now we do pick up an Iron Bully. I'm not a fan of Storm of the Citadel, as I already covered. And none of these other cards are playable. Kai's Ghost Form is just not good enough, especially in a meta that has a bounce spell. That's actually good. So we'll take the Iron Bully. Maybe it ends up making the cut. And a Ward Scale Crocodile. I don't love playing it, but if you have enough counter synergy, it can sometimes be okay. Stealth Mission, a fine card to pick up. And Teferi's Time Twist, it can be a fine 23rd card. Okie doke. Well, now we are definitely playing red-green. Sarkhan the Masterless is one of the best rares in the set. It's a 5-mana 4/4 flyer, essentially, that has additional upside of potentially making another 4/4, attacking as a 4/4, definitely taking this card here. It is very, very, very powerful. I do want to talk about some of the other cards in the pack, though. I think Dreadhorde Twins is a solid card. Nothing insane, but it's just a 4-mana 2/2 that comes with a 2/2, which is always a solid card in Limited, especially if you're a more defensive deck. Not the greatest aggressive card because they just need a 2/3 and you're blanked, but definitely a solid enough card. Mayhem Devil is a card that can really do work because there are a decent number of sacrifice enablers, but I don't think it's worth taking early and building around. I think it's more of a card that just ends up being great in certain decks. And then looking at the common slot, Lazartep Reaver is one of the better black commons. This card is very good on turn 2, just really shuts down other decks' aggression. But here, taking Sarkhan very easily here. And another great red card, Chandra's Triumph, very, very powerful. Keeping in mind, we're definitely playing green here, so we could take something like a Bloom Hulk. Mowu's a consideration. We have an Iron Bully and a New Horizons to work with Mowu, but I think Mowu is the type of card that you don't really want as much as a premium removal spell like Chandra's Triumph, which can kill planeswalkers or creatures alike. Bloom Hulk is also great, but we just want to take removal spells because we don't really have any of those at the moment. And we are still, even though, yeah, we're pretty much trying to play our, I think we're going to play red-green and then splash blue for Rouse at this point. Bloom Hulk is a good card, but I think it's more correct to take the Chandra's Triumph rather than just more beef for our deck. Okay, in this pack there's a Spark Harvest, there's a Guild Globe, and there's a Vivian's Grizzly. Guild Globe could help us splash this Rouse Outburst, but I'm not sure we're really going to need help with that. It is definitely a consideration, though. It also can help us cast like double green card on turn 4. This card on turn 4 if we are struggling to get double green because it can like get black green and help us cast it. I'm not a huge fan of Ward Scale Crocodile. I'd rather not play it. I think the choice is very clearly between Vivian's Grizzly and Guild Globe here, and we already have several 3-drops, but we also have a lot of permanents to draw into pretty much our entire deck. We only have 2 instants or sorceries. I guess this is an enchantment, so 3 misses. We are going to probably have a decent amount of mana. So it's I think we're going to take Guild Globe. It helps us fix for very low cost, and we will be able to pick up cards like Grizzly later. Now we'll take a Burning Prophet. We have a decent number of non-creature spells. We have a couple Planeswalkers that this works with, and the Scry is actually relatively relevant. Or we could take Snare Spinner, which protects our creatures a little bit better. But Burning Prophet is, I think, a little bit better just because the Scry is quite nice, and a lot of the time this is going to be a 1/3 anyway, so we'll take the Burning Prophet. And there's another Forest Landing. We aren't really looking to play any of these other cards out of the sideboard, so we will just take the Forest Landing here. Dovin's Veto, I think, is main deckable because of the number of Planeswalkers running around, but not really a card we're looking to like play in this deck for sure. And now there's another Guild Globe. I don't think Giant Growth is what this deck is looking for. We'd rather have a combat trick that puts counters on our creatures rather than like a just one-time use only. Crawl Stinger is a fine 3-drop, but as I said, we already have a decent number of 3-drops. We have 4 3-drops already that are already pretty solid, so we'll just take a Guild Globe here and help us if we want to splash anything other than the Rouse Outburst. Okay, Kron Strangler actually has some potential in this deck. So it works with Sarkon, it works with Bloomhulk. That's 2 hits already, and we could potentially get more. So it could just be a solid enough 2-drop. Courage and Crisis in certain decks is very good, but I don't think our deck just has enough Proliferate for it to work. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 things we can proliferate onto right now, so I don't think this really is a Courage and Crisis deck. Thundering Ceratok can be fine. It works with Kron Strangler, but I think we're just going to take the Kron Strangler and then pick up the cards to help enable it. And now Steady Aim is like okay, but not insane. On-Crop Invader can do good work pressuring Planeswalkers sometimes, and is overall a very solid card, but not sure if I want to take that here. We could just splash a Tidebearer Giant, but that seems kind of bad. Let's just take Steady Aim to help us against Flyers decks. And now we will just take a Invading Manticore. If we need more big creatures, we could potentially play that. I think it's better than the 6-mana 7/6. And now a Grim Initiate could be good against aggro, or we could take Catharsis. I think we'll just rather have the Grim. Maybe they have a really good Planeswalker we have to kill, or Grim Initiate. I think we'll take this in case they have like an Ugin that we need to be able to kill. And Vivian's Grizzly came back. Now we will take Nissa's Triumph over our Boreal Grazer. And once again, we could technically splash Bulwark Giant out of the board. So we are in a very good spot right now. And we opened a very good uncommon that is in our colors. Angrath, Captain of Chaos, is a very strong creature. It just gets you a lot of pressure. It works nicely with the Proliferate engines, with like Bloomhulk. I mean, that's really our only Proliferate card, but it still works nicely with that. Gives all of our creatures Menace, which is nice, and is a card that I am very happy to take. It's also very flexible, like the Vraska, so it's a good early pick as well. We aren't going to be splashing a Feather, especially because it's double white. Obnixilus's Cruelty is a card we could splash, but I think we already have like a card we're splashing, and since we only have 1 permanent source of that color and 2 temporary sources, we don't really want to splash too many cards unless we get more New Horizons or type effects. I don't think Mana Geode's good enough to make the cut in this deck, though Pollen Bright Druid probably would be. I wish we could get that, but we're just going to take this Angrath because Angrath is quite strong. Okie-doke. Now there is a Trusted Pegasus. There's also a Band Together. I don't think for some reason I thought we were a white deck, but yeah, we're definitely not taking this. We're probably just taking the Band Together. We have a decent number of creatures, and it's another non-creature spell for Burning Prophet, and it's overall just a very solid card in this type of deck. I don't think we're really into a Devouring Helion. We don't have enough creatures that are good to sacrifice, and we don't really want a Spark Harvest here, so we are just going to take the Band Together. Wow, nice. We get a card that's on color and quite powerful. Living Twister is a good card. It gives you something to do with your lands in the late game, and overall, because it just like for 3 mana essentially does 2 damage to any target when you don't care about your land drops anymore. It is very good. There's also a Paradise Druid and a Bloomhulk in this pack, so 2 more very good cards in this pack. It's actually kind of tricky which one is the correct pick. Living Twister is very good. Bloomhulk's also very good. We don't have as many +1/+1 counter synergies as I think you would need to make Bloomhulk the correct pick here. A Paradise Druid is a very, very good 2-drop, though. We have some very strong 4-drops as well to ramp into. I could totally see Paradise Druid being the correct pick here. This deck has like 1, 2, and then this card's great to ramp into. It's got Bloomhulk it can ramp into. We have a limited number of good 2-drops. But Living Twister is quite good. I think I want to take the Living Twister. I think the card is good, and it could be correct to take Paradise Druid in some scenarios, but I'm not 100% sure how good Living Twister is. I just think it is. I'm getting this vibe that it's just a very good card and it's going to win me the game by itself. So I'm going to take the Living Twister here, even though Paradise Druid is very good as well. Rebel Belt Riders, I think, is good in aggressive versions of this type of deck. I'm not sure how aggressive our version is. Our version is decently aggressive, I think. So I could totally see Rebel Belt Riders being an okay card here. That being said, our 2-drops aren't super aggressive. I don't think we need a Contractor. I think we are just going to take another Burning Prophet, though. We have a lot of non-creature spells. It works with Guild Globes and things like that. And the Scry can be very relevant. And I don't think we have enough like high-powered creatures to make Rebel Belt Riders insane. And now, how good is Courage in Crisis now? We have kind of one thing with counters, 2 things with counters, 3 things with counters. Yeah, we still don't want Courage in Crisis. We will just take another Snare Spinner, potentially for the sideboard, potentially for the main deck. And now another Guild Globe to help our splashes, just cycle through our deck, fix our mana, be very effective in that regard. And now we can just take a big fatty that we... I think we'd rather have a 3rd Forced Landing. Forced Landing can be very good in the right matchup. Not going to main deck it, though. And now we will take another Sarkhan's Catharsis for the sideboard. We already have a Crocodile we're not playing. Vivian's Grizzly, I think, is going to be nice in this deck. We have some ramp, and though it is some tension with Living Twister. We could take Bond of Flourishing to help us find our Sarkhan. Or Living Twister. Contentious Plan, not really a card we want to splash. We'll just take the Grizzly. And we'll take Steady Aim. Maybe we just want another 2-drop to sideboard in. We already have a Steady Aim. Yeah, let's just take the 2-drop to potentially side in for the aggressive matchups. And a Skulker we don't want to play, but we'll take it. And now we'll just take the uncommon. Return to Nature is a good sideboard card. And totally lost. So this deck really came together quite well, I think. It's very powerful. Has a lot of strong top end here. Yeah, we could totally splash a Totally Invasion with 3 Guild Globes and a New Horizons if we need to for the right matchup and they have a very good bomb or something. Cron Strangler has 1 thing to flip target it. 2, 3. We aren't playing any islands. Definitely want to play more forests, though we do have some double red cards, which make that a little bit tricky. I'm not sure we want to play the Nissa's Triumph. That's just going to be kind of hard to cast. We could play a Ward Scale Crocodile. Let's look at our mana curve. So we have not a ton of 5-drops here. We only have 1, and then we have 1 6-drop. So we could totally play a Ward Scale Crocodile, probably get away with that. I don't really want to play Steady Aim in the main deck. We could play a Bulwark Giant off the splash, but I don't think that's really worth it. So what's our worst card here? We definitely want to run 17 lands in this deck, I think. Though maybe we could make an argument for 16 because we do have 3 Guild Globes to kind of just cycle through. And but we do have a decent mana sink in this guy, and we have some expensive cards. And yeah, I think we want to run one more expensive card. So I think we do want to run a Ward Scale Crocodile, even though it's not the greatest. And we'll run that over Nissa's Triumph. Nissa's Triumph is interesting because it kind of works better with Guild Globes in the way that you like get rid of some of your lands, and then your Guild Globes get a little bit better. Maybe we only want to main deck 1 Snare Spinner. We have a couple Vivian's Grizzlies, so 17 lands is definitely correct here. We have some stuff to use their mana on. We don't want Ward Scale. We're just going to cut the worst cards in our deck. And I think the worst card in our deck left is now a Invading Manticore. It's just, I don't think we necessarily want there's another expensive guy. Though it does stall the board quite well. I think it's either Snare Spinner or Invading Manticore. I think the Guild Globe's also useful for just casting our Living Twister on turn 3. Like, it helps us do that. Also, Nissa's Triumph is sketchy. Let's just cut the Nissa's Triumph. I'm not a huge fan of that card. And overall, I think it's not going to be great. So let's run the deck like this. We're definitely going to make Let's make Living Twister our picture. If you did make it to this part of the video, let me know in the comment section how many wins you think this deck is going to get to. I think it's very strong, and I'm pretty happy that with how it turned out. Our Burning Prophets are actually really effective in this deck. We have a very defensive tools, a lot of good 2-drops to protect our Planeswalkers. We have a lot of good Planeswalkers and some Proliferate to, actually like one Proliferator to get them a little bit bigger. We will play first. And this is a solid hand. We have Snare Spinner into New Horizons into Rouse Outburst. Pretty much an ideal start for our deck. We're going to have all of our colors. We're going to have all of our mana flowing together in harmony. And a Grizzly to spend our mana on. Perfect. I think we do want to get this New Horizons down first, though. Because then we can cast Rouse Outburst to find a land if we need to. Okay, now I am going to change my mind a little bit because this makes our play pattern a little bit better. If we go Vivian's Grizzly, then next turn we can put New Horizons onto a forest and play Burning Prophet, which is just more mana efficient. So all that requires is us drawing a land next turn. And not the best, but we will make do. Target our land. And I think we want to put the counter onto the... Okay, so they're a white deck. Let's just diversify our threats a little bit. Keeping in mind that we probably will proliferate onto this at some point. This means that if they have a one of the birds, the 5 Enforcer Griffin, that they can't get through. Boom! That is exactly what I wanted to have happen. Okay, perfect. So we will Burning Prophet. Then we will land and band together 2 creatures to kill that. We get to scry. Don't really want to land here. We have enough mana now. And we will attack. So this is perfect here. Next turn we can play Bloom Hulk. Get this guy a little bit bigger. Sure. Let us attack. And then we will Rouse Outburst post-combat. Blue. We're going to keep up green in case we draw a land off of it. Do we want this land? Let's put this on the bottom. It just gives it... Well, we could find a land anyway, and let's just take the land here. Land is not the end of the world when we have the Vivian's Grizzly in play, and also just getting another little bit of power into play. So we have 3, 4, 5, 6. So we can cast every card in our deck now. We can use Vivian's Grizzly. So Living Twister has some potential, but I think we just want to hold up Vivian's Grizzly and activate that. If we draw a land, we can then go Living Twister and Vivian's Grizzly. One of the things I have learned from listening to Limited Resources is one thing Marshall says a lot is if you have an activated ability, it's good to like use it while it's still around so you can get that value while you can. Yeah, so we get a like nice little bit of card draw here, and we'll play it. And our opponent concedes. So we were going to probably play this and Guild Globe and the next turn try to proliferate. Okay, so in the green-white matchup, they'll probably have some flyers, but I'm not sure if it's enough to make us want Force Landing or if our 2 Snare Spinners are good enough. We did see that one flyer. That is a pretty good one. Maybe we hedge and bring in Steady Aim, though Steady Aim doesn't seem the best against their 4/5s because it doesn't help us really trade with those. overall, how can we adjust our deck knowing that they have 2 4/5s? I think we could cut a snare spinner for a force landing, but I think we're just going to run it back here. We didn't really see enough to make us want to bring in any of our force landings because we only know about 1 flyer, and bringing in 1 anti-flyer card for 1 flyer is a little bit sketchy, to say the least. And it looks like we're going to have a fine matchup anyway. They didn't really show us any removal. Yeah. Okay, this hand is sketchy. We're on the draw, though. We have New Horizons, which would just be a fine card. We also have 3 Guild Globes to help us cast Angrath on turn 4, so I think this is a keep. Because Guild Globe is a card that we have in our deck. Yeah, Guild Globe makes this hand so much better, because then we really only need 1 red source. That's why Guild Globe's fine, even if you are just a 2-color deck. It can just help your mana out a little bit. And we hit our second mountain anyway. So we get the wolf going. Every time I draw the wolf, I kind of think in my head, what if this was a grizzly? And I think grizzly was, I don't know, is comparable in this situation because it can block martyr for the cause better, but it also can't attack as well. But that's just how you can kind of figure out which one you'd rather have in your deck. Definitely not really looking to play New Horizons yet. Let's just attack. Next turn we'll get this Sarkon into play. Make things really tricky on the opponent. There's also some scenarios where you just Sarkon plus make Angrath into a dragon. Sarkon makes Angrath even at 1 loyalty, like if they kill our token and attack this. So then this card's good for a variety of reasons. First of all, because it gives us menace. Yeah. Second of all, because it'll be a 4/4 dragon. And now I don't think we attack with our Arlen's Wolf, because it's so much more valuable to keep our Planeswalker around, and they're at a high enough life total that it doesn't really matter. And now if they can't, they have to have 2 removal spells or some really good stuff, because this is representing 8 damage, like 8, 12, 17 damage. So we have them dead next turn. Also, remember, we want to play Burning Prophet before New Horizons to get an extra scry out of the deal. Also, we probably want to put the counter onto Burning Prophet. Sure. That's acceptable. Well, that's a nice draw. So we just have lethal on board. They all have menace. This can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. 4, 8, 11, 15. Four, 8, 12, 15. So that's not lethal. Rats. Okay, so now do we want to play Vraska or Burning Prophet? We can actually just play both. I played that in the wrong order. Jesus. That was so bad. I missed out on a scry. Sorry for anyone who, yeah, sorry for saying Jesus. Maybe. Okay, we win anyway. I was like, okay, we're going to play this before the New Horizons so we can get that extra scry action, and then I did the wrong thing anyway. Okie doke, so we got a victory in round 1. Let's keep it going for round 2. Captain Cheesefunk. This is a solid hand. 2-drop into 3-drop with a couple Guild Globes to help us get red mana. Even in a 2-color deck, Guild Globe can do work. I think it's a solid card to take early because it gives you a lot of options later on. It can help you splash cards. And overall, it's one of those cards that is just very good in subtle ways. Yeah, this hand is great. Definitely going to go Crunch Wrangler into Arlen's Wolf here, I think. And then we can maybe get the Iron Bully going. I think we know opponents playing a red deck. Red decks, you have to think about the removal spells. Jaya's Greeting and Chandra's Outrage, I think is called. So either 3 damage or 2 damage. Those are like the main ones. Jaya herself does 2 damage. One cool thing you can do on MTG Arena is by clicking this thing, it summons a cool logo. That's just a cool thing to note. And if you click this statue enough times, it falls over. Like, I'll show you what I mean. So if you're ever bored and just want to knock a statue down, boom. Okay, we're going to start with our 2-drop. Invading Manticore actually is one of our cards that triggers Crunch Wrangler, which is cool. Crunch Wrangler is one of those cards you want to build around, but at the same time, you don't want to build around it too hard by playing bad cards. So it actually works nicely with like cards like Turret Ogre and Thundering Ceratok. Those are like fine cards that you just are going to probably play anyway. Oh my gosh, you betray me, Raging Crunch. I feel betrayed. So we're going to play the 3-2 so we can trade with that. Could play an Iron Bully to make this into a 3-2. Opponent's playing 3 colors here. Maybe it means they have, and now we want to figure out their main color. So they're playing a red 3-drop, which probably means red is one of their 3 main colors. Then I would assume green, because green is how better at splashing than black is, but it is too early to tell. Okay, Burning Prophet. That's a good card. Can't block that Arlen's Wolf. Okay, in this spot, there's some merit to going Iron Bully onto Crunch Wrangler, but then our Iron Bully is kind of a useless card, and Crunch Wrangler is eventually going to get big anyway. So I think here we want to just play our Iron Bully as a 2-2 in its own right. Actually, first we're going to attack with our Arlen's Wolf. Actually, no, we're not. Because that means we don't have a good block on that thing. So we're just going to play this as a 2-2 menace. Do we even... It might just be better to put this on here, but I think making it a relevant card on its own is kind of useful. And also now if we have Proliferate, like if we draw Bloom Hulk, it'll be better. And this also makes my opponent's removal spells a lot worse. Because here they're holding up 2 mana. They could just have a Jaya's Greeting. If I put the counter on here, it's just really bad. Ugh. We don't want to expose our Vivian's Grizzly to removal right now. That's why I didn't play it. Man, I'm just so happy. I don't know why. Man, I went to F&M for the first time in a while yesterday, and it's at my like kind of localish shop, and I'm just so happy. It was so much fun. Going to F&M in person is just like the greatest ever because you're just hanging out with your friends and everything's fun. If my opponent was going to attack, they should have done it pre-combat so I couldn't just like know their Burning Prophet play. Okay, this is relatively easy here. We're going to make our Iron Bully into a 3-3. Because now it can trade with his relevant cards, and we will play a Guild Globe, hopefully find a land. Perfect, and play the land, and now next turn we can play our Manticore, have some good blocks. We don't have any pressure to attack the opponent here, because we have Sarkhan and Angrath and our third Planeswalker Vraska, and those cards mean that we don't really have any pressure to get aggressive here. We also have a Vivian's Grizzly. That's one of those things you should be thinking about, is like, does my deck have the tools to win if this game keeps going forever? And my opponent probably has strong cards as well, so that's something to keep in mind. But I also have like Ral's Outburst, which is a very good draw here. And yeah, my opponent's playing jank like Goblin Assault Team, so I'm actually not going to block because it's kind of bad for me with Mowu. so we are just going to take this here. And next turn we can just eat it with our invading Manticore, and then it'll be good enough. And band together makes this much better as well. That was one of those. I was thinking, how can I kill this Mowu? That's one of those other things you think about. The way I kill Mowu is with band together in this deck. So I can attack here for 3 and still have really good blocks. So I think that's probably worth it. I can actually attack for 6. Yeah, this seems like good attacks. Maybe that's one's a little bit aggressive. Maybe I'd rather just attack with this guy. Because this guy works if I draw a Bloom Hulk. If I attack with this guy, you block with Crunch or Mowu. I'm happy with if he blocks with either of those. And since he doesn't have mana up for Burning Prophet, I'll just do this. Because I don't want to trade it with Burning Prophet. I guess Burning Prophet can't really block it even if he does have a trick. But now that I have these 2 more creatures, I think it's safer to attack. Now if he attacks the Goblin Assault team on block here, he'll put 2 counters on Mowu. Next turn I'll band together Vivian's Grizzly. Perfect. If he does kill the Manticore, I can also just use this thing. Always factor your opponent into your decisions, like whether things will be, like what's going to happen with your opponent. Like, you can't just be like, oh, he's not going to do anything on his turn. Like, if they kill this guy, you need to have a backup plan. If you're, yeah. Sometimes you can't afford to have a backup plan, but a lot of the time you can, and that's when you need to think ahead. Okay, so we're going to start off by playing our Guild Globe. No, we will start off by attacking the Angrath with just this guy, I think. Maybe this guy as well. Because this guy has trample. So if he blocks with this, it still takes 2 damage. If he blocks with this and this, that's fine for us as well, I think. And if he does try to get the Goblin Assault team dead, we can kill the Mowu, which is important. Perfect. I think this is a situation where you want to block with Burning Prophet too, but I could totally see the logic for not doing that. Okay, so now we got that going, and we're going to end the turn here. Because if he doesn't attack with Mowu, then we can just activate the Vivian's Grizzly and get value that way. We don't want to just kill this for no reason. It's not really a relevant threat right now, either way. Also, this stops him from going like Courage and Crisis or something like that. Our 2 biggest creatures can do 7 power, so even if he puts 1 more counter on this, it's still big enough. Sure. This is actually very good for us, because now if he attacks with these 2, we really wreck him. This is also the benefit of waiting, because it looks like we have something to do with our mana, and that's what we're doing. We only have 2 cards in hand. They could just be duds. But if he attacks with these 2 now, we can just kill this and eat his guy with Manticore. Actually, we can't do that because of his Angrath, but... So these are the 2 guys that survived Jaya's greeting. I mean, not Giants Greeting, Chandra's Outrage. I consider doing the token because if he has Giants Greeting, I'd rather he kill the token. But now we are in a little bit better shape. So we have 3, 5, 9, 10, 11 damage on board. And he doesn't have an instant, or he probably would have used it there. Boom, boom. Let's just eat that guy. And trade our 3/3. No, that seems bad. We want this guy eating, and this guy to just trade with the 2/2. Boom. Okay. That's fine. We get a little bit of value there because this card doesn't actually like trade for a card really. Though the board is relatively even here. Definitely want to make sure we play our Burning Prophet before we play this. Wow, that was really bad mana tapping, I must say. I must say. Boom. Value. Oh, that's such a good card to draw here. Definitely not going to attack. We want to be able to block. Now we have this to kill Raging Crunch. We kind of want to disincentivize him from attacking. Well, well, well. Sure. Whew. Keep in mind, we still have a lot of our powerful cards to draw. He has 2 cards, but this card's very good. And we're pretty sure they're spells. So he could have an expensive, like, 6-drop in his deck. Okay, 4 toughness is a little bit annoying. But this death touch is going to be good as well. And we're getting some nice scry action. Every time we scry a land at the bottom, it's like drawing a card, pretty much. Because the land is useless here. So yeah, Vraska is very good. This Burning Prophet gives us a nice little onboard advantage. We're going to make a second Death Toucher here. And at this point, I think we're very favored because we have so much just good stuff going on. Raoul's Outburst is going to do good work, though we don't really know what my opponent is splashing for yet. And they could have like a Liliana in hand or something, which would really drastically change this game. I think my opponent might be best served just attacking my Liliana with both. The only problem, I mean my Vraska with both. The only problem then is I block the Helion, chump this thing, and then they can't necessarily attack the following turn. But I think me getting a second Death Toucher for free essentially is not great. And here I'll have to chump at least one guy. Oh, going face. Well, then I'll just block the bigger guy. Take 4. I'm ahead, but I'm not so far ahead that I need a chump block to save 4 damage. Yeah. That's how I would describe it here. Like, sure, they could have double Sarkhan's Catharsis, but they could also just have nothing. Wow, they do have it, and they don't go face. So that's why they attacked with both, because they didn't know if I'd block or something. No attacks. We don't want to just take 4 for no reason. We're going to do zombie plus rouse outburst here. Sure. That actually works really nicely. Snare spinner. We can do better. We have a Sarkhan in our deck. Got the wolf. Now we will start attacking, end the game before they can draw their bomb. They still have like a 6-drop in hand, I think. Oh, that's so good. Do we want to activate this now? Probably not. We will play our land though. Though we have Burning Prophet in our deck. Yeah, let's just activate it now. Good tapping. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. Vivian's Grizzly is such a good card. It's I think Arlen's Wolf is better in the early game for sure, but this is better in the late game. I mean, that's pretty obvious, I guess, just by looking at the cards. Now I have to consider whether or not they're going to run multiple Sarkhan's Catharsis. I don't believe we can block here. We just have to accept the fact that we're dead to Sarkhan's Catharsis. We can scry. Oh, that's perfect. And then we can draw it. Oh, the power. The fact that they're running one Sarkhan's Catharsis scares me because they might run a second one. And we have them dead next turn. Please no. Oh, thank God. Boom! Whoo! That was close. I wish I had time to look at their sideboard again. I should have done that while the game was going. Okay, we didn't see any flyers. They have Sarkhan's Catharsis, so Bulwark Giant has some potential. Let's just run it back. Close game, for sure. They have an Angrath. Maybe we would do want to splash a Bulwark Giant in game 3. Could be effective. I think our main deck is just so solid, though. Maybe Snare Spinner is not the best card. Dang, this deck is awesome. The thing is, when you have powerful cards in your deck, you can play a very different game than if you don't. So some of my drafts, I don't have a very powerful card in my deck, so I just have to be aggressive and try to kill the opponent before they can play their powerful cards or be ahead on board for when they play their powerful cards. But with this deck, I can like let the board stall. I have a couple Vivian's Grizzlies. Overall, it's just a very, very good feeling. One of the funniest things was someone yesterday, my friend at the Friday Night Magic was talking about, like, we were talking about the format, and he was asking me, like, a bunch of these questions, like, which color do you like the best? Which guild do you like the best? And it's weird because I don't, like, think about it that way, because at any point in time, any guild could be the correct guild to draft. And so I usually don't think about it that way. And I also, like, don't necessarily think about playing the color combinations as archetypes. Like, I don't think... I like do think blue-red spells, because there's a decent number of spells payoffs. But, like, when I draft, like, a red-green deck, I don't or like a blue-green deck, I don't think, oh, I'm playing blue-green proliferate, I have to take the some counter cards and the proliferate cards. I just kind of take good cards and formulate a game plan based on what cards I see. I don't like think about it that narrowly, I guess. Though I have like red black. It's just, it can be an aggressive deck. It can have some sacrifice synergies. Sometimes I think of it as red black sacrifice, but a lot of the time I don't. Okay. They also have Nahiri's Stone Blades as a trick. That's something to keep in mind. Captain Cheese Funk. And this is a close hand on the draw with a Guild Globe, but it's a mulligan. One thing when my deck is so powerful is I know that I can recover from a little bit of a stumble, but I don't like to put myself in a situation. We're going to put that on the bottom, even though it works nicely with our curve out. We don't have a third land to play this New Horizons. I don't like to put myself in a spot where I'm guaranteed to lose if I don't hit a land when my deck is so strong and I have the potential to like outplay my opponent or something like that. That's just one of those things that I'm like more likely to mulligan those sketchy hands. We're going to lead with the Burning Prophet so we can get a scry out of this New Horizons. Target a land. Scry a land to the top. Yeah, we'll attack. It's not really an effective blocker next turn because Tybalt's Rager can attack him with impunity pretty much. Burning Prophet is like not attacking, so I'm trading 3 damage for 2 damage. And like 3 damage for 2 damage. Actually 3 damage for 2 damage, but I'm not attacking with this one, so it's like 3 damage for 1 damage in a way. Yeah, I got an Assault Team. I wasn't going to block that anyway. So now I have 5 mana here. We'll play Snare Spinner to trade with Goblin Assault Team. And now we will pass now that we have Chandra's Triumph up. Chandra's Triumph. Okay, that's a little annoying. Not going to lie. But I guess he can't attack with Tybalt's Rager. So we can just double block Goblin Assault Team. Trade our 2/4 for it. I think I want to use Chandra's Triumph on this Angrath. So I'm going to get an extra scry out of this. That's a good card to draw here. The counter is probably going on to the Tybalt's Rager, if I had to guess. That's Guild Globe. No attacks. So we can double block this, but then it double pumps and kills my Living Twister. If we draw a land, we can just discard 2 lands to kill that. Or we can return a land and double ping that. I think Living Twister is going to be huge here. We have enough mana where we can double ping this. I think we just want to ping his smaller guys first, though. I would have definitely attacked with this. I'm actually going to play the land here because my opponent doesn't know that my last card's not a land, and this holds up threat of activation. And I can always just end of turn bounce my own forest back to my hand. Or bounce a mountain or something. Which I probably will do. But getting a Death Toucher into play is nice against this Tybalt's Rager. This guy can block here. This guy can block here. This guy can block here. They'll take one. So my opponent doesn't have great attacks into it. This card is great here. It's going to just start eating his 2/2s, which pressures him into attacking them into my guy, so I don't even have to use lands to kill him. Yikes. Okay. So this is a favorable exchange for me because I ended up with a 1/1 here. So we traded 1 for 1, but I got a 1/1 Death Toucher out of the deal. And now I have this guy, so his Tybalt's Rager's not as scary. We're going to bounce this mountain. Play the Grizzly. Play the Forest, because we can just bounce it anyway. No attacks. We want to keep at least 5 mana in play. Sure, what's he going to target? Probably the Burning Prophet, I'd have to guess. Sure, it still dies to 2 activations of my Living Twister. But then I lose my Death Toucher, so I don't really want to do that. That's a weird attack. Opponent probably is thinking a couple of things in advance, like playing to their outs and stuff. But that's not a good sign for them if that's their best play. So we'll just kill that. So we're going to play this guy, buff this thing up to a 2/4, because now it can trade with that on its own. Okay. Maybe we weren't even supposed to play that. Brutal. Yeah, because now we don't get to activate our Grizzly. We're going to return our forests. Because now we can activate it twice. Yeah, let's do it. Scry to the top, which kind of worries me. Okay, so now we have great attacks here. We still have 4 mana. We're in top deck mode, so we don't really care. The only card we can't cast is Sarkon, and I guess Invading Manticore. We're going to just hold this land. Because it can go face. Or it can just kill this Goblin Assailant. They scryed to the top, which makes me wonder what they scryed to the top. Like, it's clearly a spell. Like, what kind of spell? Is it a Sarkon's Catharsis? Is it a... I mean, it's not a creature, or they would have played it last turn, so it's an instant or sorcery. In red or green. Maybe it's from New Horizons. It's their black card. Is it Finale of Eternity? I hope not. Living Twister has been incredible this game. It's killed this. It's killed this. It's killed the 2/2 army. So yeah, we'll get rid of that so the Domries thing does nothing. And now 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Good game, opponent. Boom. Captain Cheese Funk falls, as all Jedi must. Well, that was a sweet victory. Oh, let's change my quest for a second. 1 second. Don't want this quest. You gotta try and get the quests that have 750 gold. Man, this deck is great. I'm glad we took that Living Twister. It did good work that game. One thing that is important to do when you have a card like Living Twister is to use it while you can. I think I failed to do that with the Vivian's Grizzly that game, and it would have provided me a long-term advantage if I had, or a little bit of an advantage if I had activated it. Whereas instead, I just let it. I played an Iron Bully, which didn't really affect the board that much, and my Vivian's Grizzly didn't get to activate. Okay, so this hand is sketchy, but we do have 3 Guild Globes, which means I think this is a keep. I think the 3 Guild Globes make a lot of your semi-keepable hands very keepable, just because they let you cast your like on-color cards too. Because now instead of having to draw like 2 forests, we can just draw a Guild Globe. And Crunch Wrangler coming down, helping the team, helping morale. Okay, Aven Eternal is a good card. Let's see, Guild Globe. Guild Globe does whatever a guild can do. Mana Geode. Okay, so they're playing Esper. And they have OK fixing. Putting it on the top. Maybe it's a land, maybe it's a great card. You never know. No blocks. That's going to die to a Rouse right now. And we will take Bloom Hulk. because that works so well with Cron Strangler. And attack. Whew, this is looking good. Bloomhulk and Cron Strangler is the OG combo, the green commons combo. I like it. Sure. They may think they're trading 3 for 2, but we're about to get in for 4 next turn. Oh man, get wrecked, noob. Wow, Living Twister is going to be so good. I think this turn we want to get down the Bloomhulk, but next turn we're going to play the Living Twister. And it's going to eat the Aven Eternal, and we have 3 more lands to fuel it. And then our Vraska can come down, and we can kill something else. No! Rats. Oh, that sucks. Living Twister was going to be a house. Shoot. Well, that's brutal. Sad day. Hello, darkness, my old friend. We're going to get it down our 2 guys. Going to get a Scry in. Because he's just going to get back Toll of the Invasion, otherwise the Spellkeeper weird. Gonna kill the Saheeli. Saheeli is too good of a combo with Spellkeeper weird. That was a very good trade for us. Saheeli with Spellkeeper weird is just very effective because you can just copy the Spellkeeper weird. Oh no. I do not like that. No, no, no. Dang, our Living Twister would have gotten shut down by that anyway. Spell me. That's actually relatively effective. We are going to play our lands in case we draw Vivian's Grizzly. Oh man, I played a Bloom thing instead of a Living Twister. I think it's correct. Oh man. Play the Forest so we can go Vivian's Grizzly, activate twice on the following turn. I don't think we have many outs here because Wanderer just shuts down a lot of our best draws. I guess we should have technically played Mountain there to keep it deceived, but I think you should be using this Saheeli. We need a little bit better than an Arlen's Wolf here. We need a removal spell for this Aven Eternal, which doesn't really work out all that well. Okay, we'll trade for the 2/2. Does he even know that Saheeli can copy it? I'm on a 2-turn clock. Okay, they know. Clearly, face is the place. And that's game. Actually, if I can hit the Saheeli, then it's not. So Saheeli will die if they don't double block. But now that I have nothing to copy. Oh no, he said good game? What's that mean? Wait. Oh, he's using his mana geode. That's what he was doing. Oh, whoops. I didn't even realize that. That's hilarious. Okay, so he's got some planeswalkers. He's got some flyers. Let's bring in a forced landing. And forced landing's better than steady aim because steady aim he won't walk into it because he's got Toll of the Invasion. So we'll bring in one forced landing for a Iron Bully. Okay, Zilb, prepare to meet your doom. That Toll of the Invasion was so clutch for him. Also, the Wanderer is kind of good against my deck. This is a good hand. We'll keep it. Is he really splashing Toll of the Invasion? A weird card to splash. I guess it worked out. So we're going to go Vivian's Grizzly into Vraska into Bloomhulk. If we can draw a second forest. If we don't, we'd still get to play Bloomhulk on turn 4, which is still fine, but not as good as playing Vraska would be because the Vraska would get proliferated on from Bloomhulk. Or maybe they're base black and something else. Toll the Invasion? Yep. They have a tricky choice here. Because if they take Bloomhulk, then they could get wrecked by Vraska. Okay, they take Vraska. Okay. Okay, we still want to get this 4/4 into play. Because it looks like they might be struggling with their mana. And then we can just start activating the Grizzly. So they are struggling with mana, but we have nothing going on because we're flooding. Rats. This is really unfortunate. I think we've drawn a land every single turn this game. Maybe we drew one Bloomhulk. I don't know. We have a Grizzly, which is one of our better cards to draw when we're flooding. But opponent has 5 spells in hand. We know that because they have missed a land drop. Sure. And they're going to draw more cards with this Soul Diviner. And our Chandra's Outrage is on the bottom. Take action. Let's go. Go, go, snare spinner, go. We're just going to keep activating this Grizzly. They can get back Toll the Invasion. That's an okay thing for them to do, but They'll probably get back Obnixilus's Cruelty, and we want to get as many activations out of this as we can. Sure. Oh yes, the wolf. Keep on swimming. That's actually kind of relevant that they killed their own creature, though. They're drawing an extra card. We're kind of drawing extra cards. Next time we can activate this twice. Scry a land to the bottom, essentially, there. We do have a second wolf in here. You know what would be good is Sarkhan. Even though he would kill the dragon that we made. Blocks. That wasn't the greatest use of Callous Dismissal, I don't think. We're going to hold this land in case we draw Living Twister. Also to leave some mystery. Oh, man. We do have a lot of good cards in this deck. But unfortunately, our opponent was able to kind of pick apart our game plan a little bit. And they are drawing through a lot of their own deck as well. Living Twister would be not even that good here. This thing, it represents an Obnixilus's Cruelty. Without it, I mean, with double Snare Spinner, flyers aren't very good for them to draw. Yeah, there's the Obnixiluses. But a Nicolaibolas. Soul Diviner is pretty bad for me, though. That card will be a problem. Oh my gosh, they're just going full value mode. Jeez, that's insane. What? Oh my god. That was disgusting. Yeah, we lose. We can't get a creature going, and we can't get a planeswalker to get us out of this because he has too much gas. So, well played, opponent, and we're going to concede this one. Because even if we draw Sarkhan, he just kills the dragon, kills us. Or if we plus it, he just attacks it. So, that was just unfortunate the way that we drew, and they had a very good deck as well. So, that is bound to happen. I just decided to concede that type of game because it's not very entertaining to watch. It kind of makes the video drag on a little bit. And that game was pretty much like very impossible to win. We would have to top deck Grizzly while they were tapped out, and then activate Grizzly like 2 times, hit Sarkhan and something else, and it was just like, that's not something I want to try and live through. This is a solid hand. I'm very happy with this one. We have a Snare Spinner into New Horizons potentially, or Snare Spinner into Guild Globe to find more lands, and we have the Rouse Outburst mana. It has been very easy to splash this Rouse Outburst. When you can splash a card without using mana for, like, putting that kind of land in your deck, it's very powerful. Okay. Let's just use the Vivian's Grizzly here, and then next turn we can go New Horizons into Guild Globe. This card already trades off with this one relatively effectively, so I don't think we want to put the counter on here. Okay, now we will, though. Do we want to Guild Globe or hold up Chandra's Triumph? Probably Guild Globe. Find another land drop for next turn. I could have attacked with Grizzly there. Yikes. Why would it tap that to cast my Burning Prophet? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 mana. These two combined don't kill that. So this turn I'm going to go... So next turn I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll have to draw a land to make that work. So I think we're going to use Band Together to finish off this guy. And then next turn I can go Chandra's Triumph. No, I have to save Band Together. I actually don't want this. I'm taking 4 next turn. I want to draw land. We'll get that damage in this time. Oh gosh, no. Well, now it's very clear what we have to do. We have to use this on the mage and then find a land off of this. Perfect. Oh, we'll keep that on top. And then we'll chump the Bloom Hulk with our Burning Prophet. Play our 2 creatures next turn and be stabilized. And we're going to play both of these just because if he does kill one of them, we want to be able to actually block the Bloom Hulk instead of chumping. And now we'll just activate Grizzlies for days. And if we draw a land, we can activate Grizzly twice. We're just going to double activate Grizzly. Sure. Mowu, okay. And Mowu gets played. We'll take it. Oh no, we don't get to draw that. Yeah, we'll draw that. And that was exactly what we wanted to have happen. Because now we have up our Living Twister. We can activate that a couple times. Kill Bloom Hulk maybe, or okay. So we don't get any value out of it. But he does have to use a removal spell on it. And we still have our Vivian's Grizzlies doing work. Looking for our Sarkons and things like that. Okay, we're gonna now pass. Come on. Ooh, more spells. Perfect. So now we are going to activate the Grizzly, and then we're going to play both these spells, I think. We're going to put the counter on our Reach guy in case he has another shenanigan up his sleeve. Like a Enforcer Griffin. Not Enforcer Griffin. Yes, Enforcer Griffin. We are going to find Sarkon eventually, and Vraska, and Angrath and stuff. Yeah, I saw that coming eventually. Wow, they've been setting that one up for a long time. Oh, that's perfect. Whoops. Well, I messed that up. I wonder if that'll cost me the game. Hopefully not. If it was a 3-3, though, it would be nice. Five, 3, 5, 9, 12. 2, 5, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. If we block like this too, then if he kills my 4/4, then I still have 2, 3, 6, 9, 10. And I would just be just short. Two, 5, 9, 10, 11, 12. And I have 3, 4, 5, 9, 40. Yeah. Maybe I was just supposed to block everything in front of Mobu and then just chump this. Also, not having that extra counter did make this block a lot more awkward. So, I could lose because of that for sure. No. Oh man, we're gonna lose because of it. I knew it. Oh, make me a dragon. Wow, I punted this so hard. 6, 7, 11. Wow, if he has a land, then I lose. Oh, man. We blew this game so badly. Oh, man, it was literally one proliferate, because then we could have put our extra guy in front of it, and we wouldn't have lost to that. Or we could have blocked differently. We could have just put our 2 grizzlies in there in front of it, too. Yeah, I punted that game so hard. Wow, I'm actually really disappointed in myself there. Well, we're going to run it back. I should have just thrown everything in front of it and then just chumped the 4-4 with my 1-1, because it wasn't going to matter. Rats. Wow, I really punted that game. Shoot! Maybe this hand's better than a 5-card hand. Disappointing. Oh well. It happens. I'll stall the board and just start using Grizzly. If I cast Sarkon on turn 5, that would be good. I'm fine trading this with a Pegasus. Man, that was very... I should have won that game. All I needed to do was put my 2 Grizzlies in front of it. I didn't... The Bloom Hulk was irrelevant. Wow. Also, if I had done them in the opposite order, I would have won. Jesus. Yeah, and then such is life. Snare spinner? Nope. Ah! Has my opponent used all of their mana every turn? I think so. Snare spinner. Yep, we deserve to lose this. We punted game 1 so hard. Oh, that was so bad. That was so bad. Oh my gosh. Also, game 2 was a complete joke, but, you know, we got clowned on. Unfortunate. Well, if you did make it all the way to the end of the video, this is the end of the video, type in the comment section down below, hashtag, punt? I don't know. Maybe. No, let's think of a better hashtag. Hashtag, what's a good pudding? Hashtag, yeah, hashtag bad block or something like that in the comment section down below to let me know you made it all the way to the end of the video. We will open our 3 packs because people tend to like that. Remember that if you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit that subscribe button, that thumbs up, leave a comment if you have any questions, and I will hopefully do a little bit better in my next video. We weren't guaranteed to win that match by any stretch of the imagination, but like we should have won game 1, so that's a little bit unfortunate, but you live and you learn, and hope you enjoyed the video regardless, and I'll talk to you guys next time.